more than I can manage. So I realized if I could at least start to breathe, breathing is good, and then look a year down the road at the 5 facets of a brilliant life: family, fun, fitness, better finances, and a fabulous career. Because I realized I felt like I was selling out. When I was making all the money, I hardly saw my family. It's like you're doing this for your why, but you never see your why, right? Because you're too busy on a bus in New York City, etc., or on a plane or whatever it is we do. So creating a system for looking a year from now and then breaking it into 90-day chunks, and then reverse engineering. Start with the end in mind. How do I want to feel? So right now we'd be going into like Martin Luther King weekend, give or take, is about 90 days from now. So I just planned vacation with my husband. My son will be going back to college his last semester. My husband will take time off. Like, we've already planned our reward for 90 days from now, because I know I've got a ton to accomplish. And so knowing what I need to accomplish by 90 days, by month, by week, by day, I don't wake up every day and go, what do I do now? That's all figured out. So I found that that was a gap for me. And now it's much better. And I've done the same thing with now myself as a client. Reverse engineer. My team is aware, Thanksgiving and the holidays are going to roll in between all this stuff. And that matters. So I got really good at figuring out how do we get to where we need to go, even with life happening in the middle of it. It's right. We plan and God laughs.
Right.
So that's when I commit and plan, it's better. When I wing it, then I stress out, because then I wake up in the morning going, oh crap, I'm supposed to X, Y, Z. So that's helped me sleep much better at night. That and more exercise. I took a new fitness routine.
Cool.
I work my butt off, and I'm tired at night, so I sleep really well.
That's a good thing. Yeah, I love that you were talking about the 90 day cycles that you set things up. That likewise, there's the book, the 12-week year, that I just love that book, because it, instead of looking at things in a year scope, because then we fall victim of, well, I have time to do that later, and so we will tend to put off things because there's always tomorrow, so to speak. But when you narrow it down to a 90-day window or the 12-week window, then our cycle is very short. We don't have time to sit around and do nothing. We have to always do stuff, and then the reward. I love that part too. That to reward yourself at the end of it, because otherwise, it's you're just keeping your nose to the grindstone for what, and you'll fall victim again to not you're working and not really able to spend time with your why, even though you know what your why is. And so I love that you have that that perspective, because a lot of people need to kind of back up a little bit and remind themselves of, what am I doing all this for? Because if you're doing it and don't really know why, then you're going to end up burning out at some point.
And what are we teaching our kids? What are we teaching our kids?
They're learning. They're sponges. They're absorbing everything that drips off of us, and they're absorbing all of it, and they're going to repeat it, because now that you see with your son or your daughter at the grad level, you can see probably in her a lot of yourself. She's about ready to explode into her career, and you can see some of yourself in her through that. And so they're always watching, and
right, for better or for worse.
Right.
So when we treat ourselves poorly, and when we have that monkey mind, negative talk, oh, I suck, oh, this is hard, oh, he's an ass, like it's everybody else's fault that I'm not getting where I need to be, or, oh, the government's not helping me enough, or, all those blame, again, mindset, skill set, tool set. So the blame game or the passing the buck stuff, once I got over some of that, and realized either nobody was going to pull me out of the bottom of that well. And I'm going to tell you, and this is important for vets, because I know that there's a lot of headspace and a lot of that we need to all work on, myself included. And I was so hormonally imbalanced at that point when I lost my job and went from hero to zero. And I started taking antidepressants, and they gave me suicidal tendencies. And I said out loud, I should just throw myself off a bridge and nobody would care. And I meant it, and I said it, and I heard the words, and I got really scared. And I share that because it's true, and it's so not the normal me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't that I felt that way all the time for years.
Right.
I knew something had really drastically shifted, and I hit rock bottom. And it was either now or never to build myself back up and figure out what I had to do. Like, that was my calling card. God tapped, and I knew I had to listen, or I was in a bad, bad place. So
Sure.
I guess that's part of the legacy now, is helping people figure out when you hear that little in your inner voice. Like I always say, once the genie pops out of the bottle, you can't stuff her back inside.
Right.
Or that nagging voice that's saying, I deserve to do X. I should be doing more. I know I'm better than this. That's usually when people call me up and hire me to help them, because it's about saying yes to you and whatever that means for you. Does that make sense?
Sure. No, perfect sense. Yeah, and I certainly commend you for your journey through that low spot, because as a veteran, I'm very passionate about helping my brothers and sisters that have served. You may or may not know, we have the statistic of 22 a day, and so that's something that's huge.
Absolutely.
And it's like you were having the thoughts of I should just jump off of a bridge. Unfortunately, with veterans, we kind of, that inhibition has been trained out of us to where we can be on the bridge and that next step looks kind of fun. So that's where it's kind of scary. There is that voice may not actually come out. So
yeah, my dad was an Army veteran, but it's not funny. It's ironic funny. He ended up having a motor vehicle accident and ended up broken back, full body cast. So he didn't have as much active duty time as he had intended, obviously, because he spent full body cast for, I don't think, almost a year in like Walter Reed Army Hospital back in the day. So his post-traumatic stress was different. It wasn't about active combat duty because he was injured, I think, before much of that ever really happened. The majority of it was the trials and tribulations of being a wounded soldier.
Sure.
Even if it was a car, motor vehicle accident, and what that process was like, trying to get help and navigating the system, and even finding his family to tell them that he was injured and where they stuck him, and all of it back in the day. So I do a lot. I also serve a lot. I do a lot of volunteering in the golf industry. Golf is one of my passions that I just learned at age 45. So I'm very, very involved and familiar with Folds of Honor and with PGA Hope and all of the golf-related support for veterans, for the military. I do a ton of charity and fundraising and awareness and working with veterans, especially one of my clients is a not-for-profit now. A woman came to me. She was the March of Dimes poster child as a child herself, and she was born with one hand. Her mom took thalidomide when she was pregnant with her, and she was born with one hand. And so she came crying to me one day, and she said, I'm not a veteran. I'm not an amputee. I'm different from everyone. But there's so many more people like me out there that have these different abilities. She said, don't cry for me because I've lost something. I didn't lose anything. I was born this way. And what do I do with that? And so we created a nonprofit to help people with different challenges. And we work with so many military and spouses and everything, because it's cognitive challenges, PTSD, physical challenges, all of it, and help them use golf as a tool to get out of bed and out of their head. So I am blessed to meet tons and tons and tons of veterans through Folds of Honor and Project Hope and all those different things. So the golf world has actually given me another beautiful place to be able to share and help people. And it's not just the preachy coaching stuff. I did write a volume of this book about golf called Rock Your Golf, ironically enough. But here, look, and we use it as a fundraiser for people in the golf industry or for nonprofits to be able to support their mission, because that's one of the things that we found really help veterans find a new way to reinvent themselves, even if they've never played before, because it's all about you. It's the 5 inches in between your ears, isn't it? So they say. So
And some of the golf charities are pretty big here in North Texas. We've had President Bush doing a lot of those, especially with the veterans.
great.
And so
It's
those are
great.
big fun things. Yeah, I personally don't golf, but I like the top golf thing
You
where I
should.
can tee off. But haven't really done the rest of it.
Absolutely. But it's another way. So like you said, what's your legacy? Well, everybody's got a little bit of a different flavor of how they give.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I feel like it's our responsibility to figure out what your flavor is and then do something about it.
It is. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's kind of part of the journey. Is people say, what's the secret to life? And the secret to life is discovering what is your purpose, what's your gift, and then using it. That's the secret to life. Because when you do that, you're going to be very happy. You're going to receive rewards beyond your imagination. You put that out there, and it's going to come back exponentially. When you're always focused on giving to other people so they can get to the next level, you will then in turn, just as life has it and as God has created it, you will receive what you need. And so it's just a wonderful thing, kind of seeing all of that transpire, because it's not about me. It should be how much we're giving, you, how much we give to other people. And
Coming from a place of abundance, right?
That's right. And you're always going to get what you need. So it's part of that mindset thing that it took me a while to figure out, because I was always having to sell, always be closing as much bull.
And you know what? Stop chasing and start attracting.
That's true.
So when you find your authentic gifts and you get really comfortable being your authentic self and stop apologizing for what you're not, a lot of us do that.
Right.
That is when the magic happens and people start to really resonate with you and they reach out. So I do this, we're not getting paid to do this. We're doing this to try to help people. But people who feel like there's something more to it will reach out, and that's okay. It's different when you sit there going, oh, buy this, sell this, buy this, and you're constantly trying to shove your products down people's throats. It's kind of gross, in my opinion.
It is.
But it is gross. If you just do what you do and be the ball, as they say in sports, right? Be the ball. Do what you do naturally. You will attract your ideal clients. And even if it's not the person listening, it's that they're going to sit there and think, oh, I know somebody who needs to call James. I know someone who needs to speak with Pat. I know someone who Mary can help. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's where it happens. Like I've got, I'm in New Jersey and I also live in Myrtle Beach.
Oh,
and so,
cool.
Yeah, well, I lost my brother to cancer last year and he was 56. Sucks. I told you, life in the middle of making plans. So I always live with gratitude for what I learned. And my husband and I watched this horrid, he was passed 6 months after he retired, he was gone. And so we decided not to wait till we're almost dead to start living. And we bought our dream beach house. It was a disgusting piece of garbage and we renovated it. And I do retreats and stuff down there and help people all the time, because one of my values was about embracing now and living every day as if it were my last. And that came from a horrid learning experience. And I think people that have been through the military, obviously, you've seen all kinds of things you probably never dreamed you ever would. And some of them you maybe want to forget. But what's the lesson? What's the gift from even the hardest lessons? And how do you move forward from there?
Sure.
So that to me is kind of special, and it puts me in a better frame of mind about all of it, because I can't undo. I did the best I could. I have a lot of healthcare background, so I was the primary healthcare quarterback. My sister, the lawyer, managed that. My other brother, was kind of the chauffeur and did a lot of the back and forth and the transporting and taking care of my mom and helping her. So like everybody jumped in and had a role. And just like I said to you before, we're not supposed to be good at everything.
Sure.
We kind of each delegated out and did the best we could, even in a crappy situation. And so that is life happening while we're busy making plans. And I think veterans have a lot of that on their plate, right? There's a lot that people don't always see. It's not always visible things that we deal with. But if you can put it in perspective and learn from the gift, the harder the lesson, the bigger the gift if you learn from it. If you can
That's true.
somehow